to the One More Thing podcast. Today I am joined with Pastor Brett and Miss Autumn McConnell. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us.
You guys did excellent this weekend, by the way. Pastor Larry and I and the family were up in North Carolina for a wedding, so we got to watch you guys on the stream, and it was really good. And Autumn, this was your first time up there.
It was my first time.
She did awesome.
She
Thank
did do
you.
awesome.
I loved it.
What was
loved it.
the one thing that were you nervous about anything?
The only thing I was nervous about was just making sure that we got our point across, and because we knew what we were saying was, relevant, but just making sure that it came across that way and that we would be able to touch others' lives and hopefully speak to them.
Cry.
You almost did.
Cries, we've got them.
Nice. That's it. That's always that's the Louis Giglio approach, is you make them cry and then you won.
Make them laugh, make them cry.
Yeah. No, it was really good. So this week we talked about listening, and we did a lot of planning meetings leading up to this talk. So this one was one of the more heavily planned and thought through discussions that we've had here at Suncoast in a while. So through the whole process of planning and listening, and there were so many different directions we could have gone. And I remember just thinking, man, we could do a whole sermon series on this topic, because there was a lot of different ways we could have gone with it. But we opened up with this idea of listening to God, and I loved how you the one analogy that you use for prayer and meditation when things are kind of coming into your mind, like the cloud thing.
Yeah.
Where did that originate from?
I don't remember exactly. I think that it came from a Buddhist monk that I watched some videos on.
And obviously meditation is big in Buddhism.
Yes.
Yeah. Why do you think there's such a discrepancy between prayer and meditation? Because they're very similar.
Yeah.
So why do you think it's such a taboo word within the Christian community, the word meditation?
It's just a cultural thing. Yeah. I mean, they don't, if you were to talk to a Buddhist and you were to use the term prayer, they're thinking meditation. So it's all about focusing, becoming aware. So if you're in the Christian tradition, you're becoming aware of the presence of God.
Yeah.
And more aware of yourself, and then more aware of how you can live further and further into your potential.
So it's this centering, this idea of okay, I'm going to focus on, in this moment, I'm going to focus on a singular thing.
Yeah. Focusing
on God, focusing on things in aspects of your life, things that I think a lot is revealed to you in meditation that you don't necessarily, it's kind of like pulling the curtain back on your life a little bit.
It is. That's why it's so hard.
It is.
Ultimately, that's why people avoid it, I think.
Yeah. I really do. I mean, I think one of the big things when we started promoting prayer and meditation, and we always kind of have to lump those two together, because if you just say meditation, people are like,
well, they think Eastern, but it's not. I mean, it's the Christian tradition steeped in meditation.
Right. But
most people don't know that. Yeah.
It is super taboo, I feel like. And I think more and more people are realizing and waking up to the idea, okay, it's not this weird Eastern, anti-Christian thing. It's the same thing. It's just we lump them together, prayer and meditation.
Every time you see Jesus in the Gospels going off to a quiet place, that's what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's meditating. He's contemplating.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I think that's really good. So, Autumn.
Yes.
Let's talk about a couple of your stories, because you had a few of them, one of them being a very big tearjerker, and I remember in the planning meeting you said it, and half the table started crying. So it was the story of Tristan coming up to you, and did you guys have much discussion after that? When he came up to you, he gave you a big hug while you're crying, and he just said, "Let's pray." Kind of what was the aftermath of that?
Well, the aftermath was me leaving to go see my uncle, but and to be with my family. But after that, it was about a week later, honestly, where I sat him down and just praised him and said, "I am so proud of you for knowing exactly what to do and for taking the lead on that and just doing what was going to make me, feel better." And I did ask him about it. I said, "What made you think of that? Or how did it come to you?" And he just said he had this overwhelming feeling of, I need to go and do this. So I don't know if he felt God's whisper. As it happened, and he did, and it was just so sweet. And then his brother Tanner came over and did the same thing, so it was super cute.
Yeah.
So it was like a group family hug.
Is Tristan older or younger?
Tristan's older.
Okay.
He's the 10-year-old.
Okay, so he was leading by example.
Yes.
That's cool.
Yes.
That's cool.
Super cool.
Yeah.
It's so nice as a parent. I mean, any parent can relate to this. When, like, if Joseph walks in a room and he senses a mood, and he'll say, "Mom, are you okay?" It's just so nice, right?
Yeah. Like
you
picks up
you
on
realize
that
they're
energy.
connecting more than you usually want to give them credit for.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. And there was one time Laura and I were headed out for a date, and we were going to a pretty nice restaurant, so we dressed up quite a bit. And we're driving in the car. We got the girls in the back. We were dropping them off at my mom's for a sleepover. And we're driving, and Laura pulls the mirror down and looks in herself in the mirror to check something. And she's like, I forgot my eye makeup. And she was mad because she's like, I don't ever leave the house without eye makeup on. Like, she's like, here we are. We're all dressed to the nines. She's like, I did all my other makeup. I just forgot to do my eye makeup.
That would be tragic.
Yeah, it's exactly. So I did not understand. I'm like,
no, I get it.
Same to me. You look beautiful. But all of a sudden, Leighton, just from the back seat, she goes, Mommy, beauty is on the inside, and you look beautiful. You need to stop. It's okay. And it was just like, it stopped Laura dead in her tracks. And she just, I just looked at her, Laura, and I just went like this.
Golden moment.
Fist bump.
Fist bump. I was like, killing it as a parent. No, and it's true. I mean, when you realize like our kids are picking up on our energy and the things that we say, and those same words is what Laura has told our girls many, many times, so it was a learning moment, it was
Absolutely.
that listening moment to our child, and it stopped Laura dead in her tracks, and she's like, you're right, baby. Thank you. It was insightful and learning, and thankfully we were listening. It wasn't like, oh, shut up, Leighton, you don't know what you're talking about. This is a big deal. We validated.
The big people are talking.
Right.
This is real life.
This is mascara we're talking about.
Yeah. So, but do you guys have anything else that you wanted to add? I mean, there were so many different topics, and that's kind of the whole point of this One More Thing podcast, is to kind of talk through other ideas and little tidbits of information that we because it's such a short amount of time. It's 25 minutes. So, like, was there anything else that you wanted to add from this weekend?
I always want to plug meditation. I do, because it's just so valuable. So I would want to encourage people to take advantage of that tool.
Yeah. And it's not just there's actual like studies that show the value. Like they're actually like studying the brain and like the physiology behind it and what happens to your brain during meditation.
Yes.
I know Science Mike talks a lot about this. He wrote a whole book. What was it? Finding God in the Waves.
Yeah.
That was about meditation and prayer and kind of his journey from a Christian to atheism to back to kind of this new form of Christianity that he was able to accept with dropping a lot of the fundamental beliefs, but kind of going into this like
the mystical level.
Exactly. Yeah. And he's like, science and God can live together.
For sure.
And I really enjoyed his book. His Finding God in the Waves, right?
Yes.
Okay. So outside of just like, ooh, it'll make you feel good, it's like there's real studies that show like the benefits of meditation and how it changes and rewires your brain.
Some of the studies on transcendental meditation.
What is that?
It's just focused, short, sinking the mind into deeper and deeper levels of stillness. And the rest, somehow they could measure this, the rest that it gives the brain in 20 minutes was better than, in some aspects, better than 8 hours of sleep.
Wow. That's crazy.
So the health benefits are huge.
Sure.
But the spiritual benefits are even bigger, I think, because what happens, the more you practice prayer and meditation, the more aware you become in general, and you become what I would call a contemplative person, so that you notice little things that you wouldn't have noticed before, and you notice this, the old attitude of gratitude developing along with it.
Sure.
And all of a sudden you're appreciative of the little
cricket,
the little bird that's sitting in the middle of the median. He's got his nest there
right
by our neighborhood. Did you see that?
No.
There's
awesome.
a little bird, pretty little thing, sits there in the center of the median. It's got its nest.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, it reminds me of your story that you told at the end, which was great. The cricket story is you kind of find yourself more aware of the things that are worth listening to.
Yeah, that's why that story works so well, I think, because it highlights that contemplative way of living.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think whenever we're looking at like new disciplines and stuff like that, like what is the byproduct of meditation?
It's awareness.
I've never met somebody that's like super deep into meditation and their life is terrible.
No.
Or angry.
Right.
They're always super still. They're always stoic. They're always appreciative and grateful, at least in my experience. And it's anecdotal, but that's...
Well, but the studies that you mentioned, so studies on what they call Olympic level meditators, their gamma wave activity in their brain was off the charts, and it was like that. So even when they would test them for the different wave patterns in the brain, even when they would test them prior to meditation, they were higher than most people achieve ever.
That's crazy.
And when they asked these meditators, what's that like? And all they could do to explain it was, it's very spacious. It's a very spacious way to live.
That's interesting.
Other words just failed. So,
yeah.
It's...
I agree. And I really am trying to get better at meditating and prayer and just spending a lot of time in that space.
Me too.
It's hard to find the time.
Sure.
And that's the one thing that I've really focused on, especially this week when we've been talking about this, is just finding the time to do it, because it does work. It really does. And, we do attitude of gratitude, not only at my camp, but in my home, where it's just so important. It kind of piggybacks off what you're saying, having that gratitude attitude really does help you to appreciate and center the focus on and being able to listen.
Yeah. Did your boys listen this weekend? Were they in the service at
all? They were in the 9 o'clock.
What did they think?
Oh, they loved it.
Yeah.
They thought I was a movie star.
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
And they loved that I talked about them. So.
Absolutely. It's the first time they've been talked about from stage. And,
right.
That's a pretty cool feeling.
They
I
loved
can
it.
imagine.
I overheard Joseph one time saying, he said to Ben, Dad tells a lot of stories about me. I'm kind of famous in the church.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you guys so much for being on. It's been an honor and a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure.
Same.
Love it.